What if the reason your life feels heavy is not because you are weak, but because you keep bowing to things that were meant to bow to you? What if your exhaustion is not from doing too much, but from living beneath who you truly are? You are not born to chase approval. You are not created to beg for attention. And you are never meant to shrink so others can feel tall. Stay with me, because when you watch this until the end, you will realize one undeniable truth. You are a queen, and the moment you start acting like one, everything around you must change. 1. A queen does not ask for permission. There is a quiet moment in every life when a woman realizes she has been waiting to be chosen, waiting to be approved, waiting for someone to say, now you may begin. And yet, the truth is gentle but firm. No one was ever given authority over your becoming. A queen does not ask for permission because she understands something early. Her existence itself is the permission. From the moment you breathe, you belong. Not to expectations, not to traditions that shrink you, not to voices that question your worth. You belong to your own soul. Asking for permission is not about politeness, it is about doubt. It is the habit of placing your life in someone else's hands and hoping they will hold it kindly. But a queen does not hope to be handled gently. She learns to stand firmly on her own ground. Notice how often you pause before speaking your truth. How often you soften your needs so others remain comfortable. How often you delay your dreams because the timing doesn't feel right to someone else. That pause is not humility. It is self-abandonment disguised as patience. You were not created to live on standby mode. You were created to move with clarity. A queen understands that hesitation drains power. Every time you ask, "Is this okay?" you unconsciously say, "I am not sure I deserve this." But certainty does not arrive after approval. Approval arrives after certainty. The world responds to how you see yourself. When you treat your choices as negotiable, others negotiate them. When you treat your boundaries as flexible, others bend them. So Queen decides first, not impulsively, not arrogantly, but inwardly. She listens deeply to herself. She moves slowly but decisively. She does not rush, yet she does not wait. This is not rebellion, it is alignment. When you stop asking for permission, something subtle shifts. Your posture changes, your voice steadies, your energy becomes grounded. People may not immediately understand you. Some may resist the change because they were comfortable when you were smaller. But clarity does not need consensus. A queen knows not everyone must agree with her path. They only need to respect her presence, and respect is born when you no longer explain yourself. Because the moment you stop asking, you discover the power of silence, and that silence becomes your crown. 2. Silence is a crown, not a weakness. Silence has been misunderstood for far too long. It has been mistaken for fear, for submission, for lack of intelligence. But true silence is none of these things. Silence is restraint. Silence is awareness. Silence is power that does not leak. A queen does not rush to fill the air with words. She does not argue for her worth. She does not chase understanding. She watches, she listens, she lets others reveal themselves. Weakness speaks loudly because it needs to be seen. Strength is quiet because it already knows. There is a deep confidence that grows when you realize you do not need to respond to everything that invites reaction. Not every comment deserves an answer. Not every challenge deserves your energy. Not every misunderstanding deserves correction. Silence is not avoidance. It is choice. When you stop reacting, people grow uncomfortable. They are used to pulling emotional strings and watching you move. When you remain still, they feel exposed. That stillness is not emptiness, it is presence. A queen understands that words should be intentional. Once spoken, they cannot be retrieved. So she measures her speech the way a sculptor shapes stone, slowly, deliberately, with care. Silence allows wisdom to rise. It gives emotions time to settle. It prevents you from shrinking yourself in moments of pressure. Notice how silence changes the room. It creates gravity. It invites respect. People listen more closely when you speak less. They weigh your words more carefully, because silence has taught them that when you speak, it matters. This is not about withholding love or becoming cold. It is about self-possession. A queen does not explain her boundaries repeatedly. She sets them and lets silence enforce them. She does not beg to be understood. She trusts that those who are meant to understand will feel a truth without translation. And when she is misunderstood, she remains composed, because silence protects her peace. The more you practice silence, the more you hear yourself, you notice what truly matters. You become aware of where your energy leaks. You stop proving and start being. And in that being, something else awakens. Because when silence becomes natural, your presence begins to speak louder than any sentence ever could. 3. Your presence is more powerful than your words. There comes a moment when you realize something profound. People feel you before they hear you. Your presence enters a room before your voice does. It carries your self-respect, your inner order, your emotional discipline. A queen does not rely on persuasion. She relies on embodiment. She does not convince others of her value. She lives in a way that makes it undeniable. Presence is built in private, in the way you treat yourself when no one is watching, in the standards you maintain when it would be easier to lower them, in the calm you choose even when chaos invites reaction. Your presence grows when you stop seeking validation, when you stop explaining your choices, when you trust your inner compass more than outside opinions. People respond to what is stable, to what is grounded, to what does not need approval to exist. That is why a queen can say very little and still be felt deeply. Her stillness commands attention. Her composure changes dynamics. Her calm unsettles those who depend on drama. Presence is not performance, it is alignment. You don't need to speak more. You need to be more rooted, more honest, more whole. When your inner world is ordered, your outer world follows. People sense when you are centered. They adjust their behavior accordingly. Some rise to meet your standard, others quietly fall away. That is not loss, it is clarity. A queen understands that words are tools, but presence is authority. She speaks when necessary. She listens when wise. She remains still when others expect noise. And in that stillness, life rearranges itself around her. Because when you no longer chase attention, attention comes to you. When you no longer demand respect, respect is offered. And when you finally understand this, you stop trying to be seen and begin to reign. 4. A queen chooses herself without guilt. There is a moment of awakening that feels almost uncomfortable. It arrives quietly, like a question you can no longer ignore. Why do I feel wrong for choosing myself? Many women grow up learning how to give before. They learn how to receive. They are praised for sacrifice, admired for endurance, loved for how much they can carry. Over time, self-denial becomes a habit, and guilt becomes a companion. But a queen sees this clearly. She understands that guilt is not always a moral signal. Often, it is a trained response. Choosing yourself does not mean rejecting others. It means refusing to abandon yourself in order to be accepted. When you choose yourself, something inside you resists at first. Old voices rise. Memories surface. You hear echoes saying, "That's selfish," or "Who do you think you are?" But listen carefully. Those voices were never yours. A queen learns to separate her true inner voice from the noise of conditioning. She asks not, "Will they approve?" but, "Is this honest to who I am becoming?" Choosing yourself is not loud. It is a quiet decision made repeatedly. In how you rest, in how you say no, in how you stop over-explaining your needs. You do not need permission to care for yourself. You do not need justification to protect your energy. You do not need to apologize for honoring your limits. Guilt fades when self-respect grows. A queen realizes that constantly choosing others over herself does not make her noble. It makes her invisible. And invisibility is not humility. It is neglect. When you choose yourself, relationships change. Some deepen, some dissolve, not because you became cold, but because you became honest. Those who benefit from your self-abandonment may resist your growth, but resistance is not a sign you are wrong. It is a sign you are no longer available for misuse. Choosing yourself aligns you with your truth, and alignment brings peace. Yet peace alone is not enough, because once you choose yourself, you must learn how to protect that choice. And that protection takes form in something powerful and misunderstood. Your boo. Indaris. 5. Boundaries are royal standards. Boundaries are not walls meant to keep people out. They are lines that define where you end and others begin. A queen understands this deeply. She does not use boundaries to punish. She uses them to preserve clarity. Many people fear boundaries because they confuse them with rejection. But boundaries are not rejection. They are self-definition. Without boundaries, your energy leaks, your time dissolves, your identity blurs. You begin to say yes when your body says no. You tolerate what drains you. You accept behavior that slowly erodes your self-worth. A queen does not wait until resentment builds. She addresses discomfort early, calmly, firmly, respectfully. Her standards are not threats, they are facts. She does not explain them repeatedly. She states them once and lets consistency do the rest. Boundaries reveal character, not yours, but theirs. Those who respect you will adjust. Those who benefit from crossing lines will push back. And when they do, the queen does not argue, she observes. Because boundaries are not enforced through emotion. They are enforced through action. When someone crosses a line and nothing changes, the boundary was only a suggestion. So a queen aligns her actions with her words, not dramatically, not angrily, simply, decisively. She understands that consistency teaches people how to treat her. Boundaries create space for peace. They filter out chaos, they protect what matters, and most importantly, they communicate self-worth without needing explanation. A queen does not negotiate her dignity. She does not lower her standards to keep company. She would rather walk alone than be surrounded by disrespect. This is not pride, it is self-responsibility. Boundaries free you from resentment. They allow love to exist without obligation. They make relationships cleaner, calmer, and more honest. But here is the deeper truth. Boundaries require inner stability. Because once you set them, you must remain calm when they are tested. And calm, true calm, is the highest authority you can embody. 6. Calm is the highest form of authority. Calm is often mistaken for passivity. But calm is not passive. It is controlled power. A queen does not raise her voice to be heard, she lowers it and listens. Calm is what remains when fear no longer controls your reactions. It is the result of inner order. When you are calm, you cannot be manipulated easily. You see clearly. You respond intentionally. Chaos feeds on reaction. Drama survives on emotional noise, but calm starves them both. A queen understands that the one who stays composed controls the direction of the moment. When others provoke, she pauses. When emotions rise, she breathes. When pressure builds, she remains steady. This steadiness is not suppression. It is mastery. Calm allows you to think beyond the moment. It gives you space between impulse and action. It turns challenges into information instead of threats. People notice calm. It unsettles those who rely on control through emotion. It reassures those who seek safety. A calm presence communicates confidence without words. It says, I am not shaken. It says, I trust myself. And trust is the foundation of authority. A queen does not rush decisions. She waits until clarity emerges. She knows that urgency often comes from fear, not wisdom. Calm helps you choose wisely. It keeps you from overreacting. It protects you from saying things you cannot take back. In calmness, you become unmovable, not rigid, but rooted. You stop proving, you stop defending, you stop chasing control. Because calm does not need control, it already has it. When you embody calm, life responds differently. Conflicts soften, people adjust their tone, situations resolve themselves without force. This is quiet leadership. This is inner royalty. And once calm becomes your natural state, you begin to realize something extraordinary. Nothing outside of you has power, unless you give it permission. And in that realization, a deeper strength begins to rise, one that no reaction, no chaos, no external noise can touch. 7. You do not chase, you attract. There is a quiet exhaustion that comes from chasing attention, chasing affection, chasing validation, chasing people who are unsure about you. At first, it feels like effort, then it feels like hope. And eventually, it feels like loss of dignity, loss of energy, loss of self. A queen recognizes this exhaustion not as failure, but as a signal that something is out of alignment. Chasing is born from the belief that something outside of you completes you, that if you just do more, say more, give more, you will finally be chosen. But a queen understands something deeper. What is truly meant for you does not need to be hunted. Attraction is not force, it is resonance. You attract what matches your inner state, your self-worth, your emotional order, your standards. When you chase, you place yourself beneath what you desire. You send a message, silently, that you are lacking. But the queen does not move from lack. She moves from fullness. She focuses inward. She cultivates her life. She becomes rooted in herself. And in doing so, she becomes magnetic. Attraction is quiet. It works without effort. It draws without demanding. When you stop chasing, you create space. Space for clarity. Space for truth. Space for people to reveal their real intentions. Those who were only enjoying the pursuit fade away. Those who value you step forward. And that clarity is a gift. A queen does not fear being alone. She fears being misaligned. She would rather stand still in her truth than run towards something that costs her peace. As you stop chasing, you may feel discomfort at first. Silence where attention once was. Distance where effort used to live. But stay there, because stillness is where your power gathers. The moment you stop reaching outward, life begins reaching toward you. And as attraction replaces pursuit, you discover a deeper skill, the ability to govern your inner world. Because attraction only remains strong when emotions are mastered, not indulged. 8. Emotional control is inner royalty. Emotions are powerful. They inform us, they guide us, but when they rule us, they drain us. A queen does not suppress her emotions. She understands them. She knows that reacting to every feeling is like giving the steering wheel to the weather. Emotional control is not coldness, it is awareness. It is the pause between feeling and action, the space where wisdom speaks. Many people mistake emotional expression for authenticity, but expression without control becomes chaos. A queen feels deeply, but she chooses carefully what she responds to. She does not allow temporary emotions to create permanent consequences. Anger passes, fear fades, insecurity shifts. But words spoken in reaction cannot be taken back. So she waits, she breathes, she let the storm pass before she speaks. This is not weakness. This is strength refined. Emotional control gives you freedom. Freedom from manipulation, freedom from regret, freedom from being pulled into unnecessary battles. When you remain calm while others react, you see clearly, you notice patterns, you recognize intentions, you gain perspective. A queen understands that not every feeling requires expression. Some require understanding. She asks herself, why do I feel this? what is this emotion teaching me? And in that inquiry she grows. Control does not mean denial, it means direction. She directs her energy toward growth, not drama, toward clarity, not conflict. People sense this control. They feel it in her presence. It makes her unpredictable, not because she is unstable, but because she is not easily triggered. That unpredictability commands respect. When emotions no longer rule you, your decisions become clean, your voice becomes steady, your presence becomes grounded. And from that grounded place, something sacred forms. Because when emotions are mastered, self-respect takes its rightful place. 9. Self-respect is your first throne. Before anyone can respect you, you must demonstrate how. Self-respect is not confidence spoken aloud. It is confidence lived quietly. It is how you treat your time, how you respond to disrespect, how you walk away when something no longer honors you. A queen does not beg for basic consideration. She expects it calmly. She does not tolerate inconsistency. She does not rationalize poor treatment. She does not lower herself to be chosen. Self-respect is choosing alignment over attachment. It is leaving situations that drain you, even when your heart hesitates. It is saying no without guilt. It is honoring your standards without apology. A queen understands that love without respect becomes self-betrayal. So, she chooses herself again and again. Not because she is selfish, but because she is responsible for her own soul. Self-respect shapes your life quietly. It determines who stays, who leaves, what grows, what dissolves. When you respect yourself, you no longer argue with reality. You accept what is revealed. You release what no longer aligns. And in doing so, you sit firmly on your first throne, the one within. From this place, you do not need to prove your worth. You do not need to announce your power. It is felt, and once self-respect is established, everything else begins to fall into order. Because the world adjusts to the standard you refuse to betray. And as that standard settles into your bones, you begin to sense a new strength emerging. One that no loss can shake, no rejection can diminish, and no silence can empty. A strength that stands even when everything else falls away. 10. Detachment is not coldness, it is mastery. There is a quiet misunderstanding about detachment. Many believe it means you stop caring, that you close your heart, that you become distant, unreachable, cold. But detachment is not the absence of feeling, it is the absence of fear. A queen does not detach because she lacks emotion. She detaches because she understands it. She looks at her life and sees clearly where attachment has cost her peace, where holding on too tightly has weakened her posture, where emotional dependence has blurred her judgment. Detachment begins the moment you stop confusing love with possession. The moment you realize that needing someone to stay is not the same as wanting them to stay. When you are attached, your mood becomes fragile. Your stability depends on someone else's behavior. Your peace is rented, not owned. A queen does not rent her peace. She loves fully, but she does not cling. She gives deeply, but she does not lose herself. She cares, but she does not collapse when things change. Detachment gives you back your center. You stop trying to control outcomes. You stop forcing understanding. You stop exhausting yourself by holding what no longer fits. And something surprising happens. When you loosen your grip, clarity arrives. You see people as they are, not as you hoped they would be. You see situations without illusion. You see yourself without distortion. Detachment sharpens perception. It allows you to respond rather than react, to choose rather than beg, to stay grounded, even when emotions rise. This is not emotional distance. This is emotional maturity. A queen understands that everything temporary loses power the moment you stop fearing its loss. When you are no longer afraid to lose, you cannot be controlled. That is mastery, and mastery leads to courage. The courage to leave without explaining, the courage to stand alone without shrinking, the courage to walk away when staying costs you yourself. Because once detachment settles in your spirit, you realize something bold and freeing. You do not need to convince anyone of your worth. You can simply walk. 11. A queen walks away without explaining. There is a time when explanation feels necessary, and then there is a time when explanation becomes a trap. A queen knows the difference. She understands that explaining yourself to someone who is committed to misunderstanding you only drains your energy and delays your growth. At first, walking away feels uncomfortable. Your mind searches for the perfect sentence, the right words, the explanation that will finally make them see. But wisdom whispers something softer, yet firmer. Those who want to understand already do. A queen does not announce her departure. She does not argue her reasons. She does not beg for closure. She observes, she decides, she moves. Walking away is not impulsive. It is often the result of long reflection, many chances given, and truths ignored. When a queen walks away, it is because silence has spoken enough. She understands that her absence will say more than her words ever could. People notice when access is removed, when availability ends, when presence is withdrawn. And in that space, reality becomes undeniable. Walking away without explaining is an act of self-respect. It says, I trust my judgment. It says, I no longer need permission to protect myself. Not everyone deserves a final conversation. Not every ending needs narration. Some doors close quietly, and that quiet protects your peace. A queen does not dramatize endings, she honors them. She understands that not every connection is meant to last forever. Some are lessons, some are seasons, some are mirrors. And once the lesson is learned, she does not linger. Walking away does not mean bitterness, it means completion. She releases resentment. She releases blame. She releases the need to be understood. Because understanding from the wrong people has never been nourishment. As she walks away, something strengthens within her. A deeper trust, a steadier footing. And in that steadiness, she discovers a truth that changes everything. Being alone with dignity is far more powerful than staying where you are tolerated. 12. Loneliness is better than disrespect. Loneliness has been painted as failure, as emptiness, as something to escape at all costs. But a queen sees loneliness differently. She sees it as space, as quiet, as a return to self. Disrespect, on the other hand, slowly erodes the soul. It enters quietly through small dismissals, unkept promises, subtle invalidations. At first, you adjust, you make excuses, you convince yourself it's not that serious. But your body feels it. Your spirit tightens, your light dims. A queen refuses to dim herself, to keep company. She understands that loneliness may ache, but disrespect corrodes. Loneliness allows healing. Disrespect demands endurance. Loneliness gives you time to breathe, to reflect, to reconnect with who you are. Disrespect teaches you to doubt yourself. So she chooses solitude over erosion, stillness over survival, self-honor over false companionship. Loneliness, when chosen consciously, becomes sanctuary. It sharpens your intuition. It restores your rhythm. It reminds you of your inner voice. A queen uses loneliness to rebuild, not to punish herself. She does not rush to fill the silence. She listens within it. And in that listening, she grows stronger. She becomes whole again. When she returns to connection, she does so from fullness, not fear, from clarity, not craving. Loneliness teaches you what you will no longer tolerate. It clarifies your standards. It refines your boundaries. And when respect finally arrives, in relationships, in work, in life, it stays. Because a queen who has chosen herself in solitude will never again accept a place where she must shrink to belong. She understands now, temporary loneliness is a small price for permanent self-respect. And from that understanding, a deeper sovereignty awakens, one that no presence can overpower, no absence can threaten, and no disrespect can touch. 13. You lead your life, not your emotions. There comes a moment when you realize something important. Your emotions are powerful messengers, but they were never meant to be rulers. For a long time, many live as passengers in their own lives, pulled by moods, driven by fear, redirected by doubt. One day you wake up feeling confident and the world seems open. Another day fear takes the wheel and suddenly everything feels heavy. This is not life, this is emotional weather controlling direction. A Queen Beck, almost aware of this pattern. She notices how easily emotions can convince her of stories that are not true. Fear whispers urgency. Insecurity demands reassurance. Anger seeks reaction. But awareness creates distance. She learns to pause and observe the feeling instead of obeying it. She asks, what is this emotion trying to show me? Not, what must I do because of it? Leading your life does not mean rejecting emotions. It means understanding their role. Emotions inform, they do not decide. When you allow emotions to lead, your life becomes inconsistent. You say yes when you should say no. You stay when you should leave. You speak when silence would protect you. A queen understands that leadership requires stability. She chooses direction before emotion arrives. She anchors herself in values, not feelings. Values remain steady, emotions shift. So when sadness visits, she does not collapse. When excitement rises, she does not rush. When fear appears, she does not retreat. She stays grounded. This grounding changes everything. You stop making decisions to escape discomfort. You stop chasing relief. You stop confusing intensity with truth. Leading your life means choosing long-term peace over short-term comfort. It means doing what aligns with your future, not your mood. At first, this leadership feels unfamiliar. Emotions resist being guided. They push, they demand attention. But with patience, something remarkable happens. The emotions soften. They trust your leadership. And when emotions trust you, they no longer overpower you. You become steady. Others notice this steadiness. They feel it in your presence. They respond differently, because leadership always begins inward. Once you lead your inner world, you no longer feel the need to control the outer one. And from this inner leadership, a deeper strength emerges, the strength to remain unmoved, even when others try to pull you into reaction. 14. Power grows when you stop reacting. Reaction is immediate. Power is deliberate. Most conflicts are fueled not by events, but by reactions. Someone says something. Someone does something. Emotion spikes, words are exchanged, and suddenly energy is lost. A queen sees this clearly. She understands that reaction gives control away. The moment you react, you let someone else dictate your state. Power grows in the pause. The space between stimulus and response is where authority lives. A queen does not ignore challenges. She meets them calmly. She listens without absorbing. She observes without engaging emotionally. She chooses her response or chooses silence. This choice is powerful. When you stop reacting, others become unsure how to engage you. Drama needs participation. Provocation needs response. Without your reaction, conflict collapses. This does not mean you accept disrespect. It means you address it without emotional leakage. A queen responds with clarity, not chaos. She does not raise her voice. She does not rush explanations. She does not defend her worth. She states facts. She sets limits. She remains composed. That composure is unsettling to those who rely on emotional control. When you stop reacting, you regain energy. Your mind becomes clearer. Your body relaxes. Your decisions improve. You begin to see patterns you once missed. You notice who provokes, who manipulates, who respects. Reaction hides truth. Stillness reveals it. A queen understands that silence can end arguments, that calm can de-escalate conflict, that restraint protects dignity. Power grows quietly. It grows when you no longer feel the need to prove yourself, when you stop correcting every misunderstanding, when you allow actions, not reactions, to speak. At first, not reacting feels unnatural. Your mind wants to jump in. Your emotions want expression. But with practice, restraint becomes natural. And once restraint becomes natural, you gain something priceless: control over your inner state. No one can push your buttons if you no longer install them. This is not indifference, this is mastery. And from this mastery, you begin to experience a profound shift. You are no longer drained by others' behavior. You are no longer shaken by external noise. You are no longer defined by reaction. You are defined by presence. And presence, once established, creates a gravity that words never could. A gravity that changes dynamics without effort. A gravity that commands respect without demand. A gravity that prepares you for the final realization of sovereignty, where stillness becomes leadership and leadership becomes freedom. 15. A queen does not compete, she reigns. Competition is loud. It compares, measures, and rushes. It is always looking sideways, checking who is ahead, who is behind, who is watching. A queen does not live there. She understands that competition is born from scarcity, the belief that there is not enough space, not enough love, not enough opportunity. But a queen lives in abundance. She knows that what is meant for her cannot be taken by another. She knows that another person's success does not steal from her destiny. So she releases the need to compare. Comparison drains joy. It turns growth into pressure. It replaces self-discovery with self-doubt. A queen chooses alignment over comparison. She asks, am I becoming who I am meant to be? Not, am I ahead of them? When you compete, you borrow standards that were never yours. You chase timelines that do not match your rhythm. You measure progress by someone else's ruler. A queen follows her own pace. She moves steadily, not hurried. She trusts her timing. She honors her process. This does not mean she lacks ambition. It means her ambition is rooted in purpose, not insecurity. She improves not to outperform others, but to fulfill herself, and this fulfillment creates something powerful. Presence without tension. People feel this presence. They sense the lack of comparison. They sense the confidence that does not need victory to exist. A queen celebrates others without diminishing herself. She admires without envy. She learns without resentment. And because she does not compete, she does not react to rivalry. She stays focused on her lane. Her energy is conserved. Her creativity expands. Her joy remains intact. Reigning is not about dominance. It is about stability. It is about being so rooted in who you are that nothing external can disturb your inner order. When you stop competing, you stop rushing. When you stop rushing, you begin to see clearly. And clarity reveals a deeper truth. Your worth was never on trial. Once you understand this, another realization gently unfolds. That while you are no longer competing, you are still being observed. 16. You are observed more than you are judged. Many live as if the world is constantly judging them. Every step watched, every mistake magnified, every pause questioned. But the truth is quieter. Most people are not judging you. They are observing you. They watch how you handle pressure, how you respond to disrespect, how you move when no one is applauding. Judgment is fleeting. Observation is lasting. A queen understands this. She does not perform for approval. She lives with integrity. She knows that people remember how you made them feel, far more than what you said. They remember your composure, your consistency, your calm. This understanding frees her. She no longer over-explains, she no longer over-adjusts.